Hi and welcome to the Energy Healing Channel. I'm Alisia, and if this is your first time here discovering my channel and you're interested in topics such as Reiki, learning about Reiki, how to do Reiki, how to practice Reiki, not only that, just the topic of energy healing overall. So that includes sound, frequency healing, that includes animal healing as well. I'll also talk about cancer remedies and solutions and things in the Ayurvedic, under the Ayurvedic umbrella, as well as chakras, crystals, herbs, and things of that nature. So who am I? I am a Holy Fire 3 Reiki Raya-Ho therapist. And I also am an Ayurvedic wellness counselor. So I deal with a lot of wellness, as you could imagine, and just helping people to achieve a better level of wellness. So if these and similar topics interest you and you find that you kind of struggle with really getting a handle on the right information, then you are in the right place. So today we will go over how to do Reiki healing. This topic is actually pretty massive, so I've decided to break it up. I'm not going to make a super long video. I've been looking at my analytics and things like that, and I noticed that when I do have the longer videos, the topic or the video is a little bit long, and so I want to actually get you the information that you came for. So I'm actually going to break it up into more bite-sized videos of about 9 to 10 minutes or so. This one may be a little bit longer because I'm kind of doing a little bit of an explanation, because the videos following this one are going to actually be included in a playlist, and you can find those up here. So let's get right into the video. Okay, so welcome to video 1. So this video is actually going to be talking about preparation of self. So there are a wide range of techniques that you can use, and I actually did a video on different techniques, which I'll link up here. Okay, and you can check that one out later if you'd like. But there's just a wide range of techniques that you can use. Now, don't get techniques and the style that you use confused, because some people do. So techniques are more of, the type of equipment you're going to use, the position of the client, whether they're in a chair, whether they're on the floor, whether they're on a Reiki table. Those kind of are more the techniques. Now, the style boils down to the actual positioning of the hands and the way you administer it. So development of your particular style will actually start to emerge after you have some sessions under your belt. So once you've got, I would say, you don't have to have thousands and thousands of sessions, but if you have at least, a roughly 5 to 10 sessions under your belt, and you would actually start to develop your own way to approach the healing, okay? And this is totally normal. Go with the flow. Don't force it. Just develop your style. So for me, I like more of the traditional, more intuitive style of Reiki. The two major styles, though, that I will talk about or that I'll mention here in this video are, like I said, the intuitive style practiced in Japan, and then there's the standard hand placement of Western Reiki. So with the intuitive style, you do incorporate Biosen scanning, but in Western they also teach, to do Biosen scanning as well. So there in itself, they kind of mingle in anyway. You're going to, of course, do hand positions, but a lot of times a person may come in with just a specific ailment. They might just have they've been having a lot of knee issues and they want you to just focus on the knee. So knowing how to hold the knee and what part of the chakra that is, that's responsible for that part of their body is really vital. I did a video talking about the meridians and things like that, and knowing those, if you can just purchase a book on acupressure and acupuncture. Unless you really want to get into that aspect as well, then of course you could take a course. But it's really just important just to know the body's meridians, because that will help you to know, where does that meridian flow to and where does it flow from, like which chakra, because each chakra governs and balances a certain part of our body. And our knees and legs are they're basically our stabilization. Okay, so how stable we are. Okay, so you want to start by setting the energy of the session. So whether you have your own Reiki studio, whether you're working out of your home, whether you're a traveling Reiki therapist, or whether you have decided to only do virtual and distance sessions, you still want to take the time to set the intention of the session and set the energy to clear yourself of energy and things of that nature. So one technique that I highly recommend, you don't have to do this, but I do it and I have found that the energy is a lot better when doing this session. Okay, so it's a technique called grounding and owning the room. So with this technique, it is a visualization technique that you may have to practice, but essentially what you're doing is you are raising the vibration of the room to gold, and you're placing a grounding cord or visualizing a grounding cord connecting all the way to the center of the planet on the center of the room. Okay, and this technique, I'll just kind of explain where I got it from slightly. So I am borrowing it from the Berkeley Psychic Institute here in Sacramento. They have a location here, and I'm currently actually a student there, learning and just developing my clairvoyance and my psychic ability. We all are psychic. It's just that our skills have not been utilized. And so me realizing that this will actually help me in a session, especially to communicate with a person's spirit guides, to communicate better with my own spirit guides and things like that. So that's why I'm, investing in myself and actually taking courses to help develop skills that I find useful. And like I said, I am a student there. So if you actually are in the Sacramento area, I invite you to come out on Monday evenings. There's a healing clinic, and I do aura healings and patching of the aura there. And so if you would love to meet me in person, I would love to meet you. And I'll actually link their information below in the description box. But they are a really great program if you're looking to develop those kind of skills for yourself and you actually want to learn from other psychics that are not going to try and pressure you or it's just they have such a different approach. They welcome you, and it's just such a great community. So I invite you out again if you are in the Sacramento area on Monday evenings. I believe the healing clinic starts at 7:30. So I welcome you out. Okay, so once we have the room owned and grounded, you should have learned how to do Kenyoku, which is a dry bathing technique. Okay, so Kingyoku, essentially, if you don't remember from your class, or if you haven't taken Reiki yet and you're just kind of like looking and getting some information on the topic, I'll go ahead and demonstrate it here. So basically you take your right hand to your left shoulder and you wipe down to your right hip. Then you take your left hand and you place it here on your right shoulder. You swipe down to your left hip. You do it one more time with your right hand from your left shoulder to your right hip. Then, and this is why I said to go ahead and do the owning and grounding of the room prior to this, because you've established a grounding cord for the room. So you take it from here and you swipe down and you throw it down that grounding cord. You do it again and throw it down that grounding cord. You do it one more time and throw it down that grounding cord, and intend for that energy to leave. Anything stuck in your, these are actually our creative channels, and so you don't want to start this session off with stagnant energy in your creative channels. Okay, so doing Kingyoku will help start to clear that out. There's going to be other opportunities where we're actually going to clear out energy in our creative channels here shortly. We'll talk about that, but that's that's actually the second thing that you want to do after owning and grounding the room. Okay, so now that you have that stuck energy, if anything was sticking there, gone, you actually want to do a short meditation. Now, if you're not really regularly meditating, this can be a bit cumbersome. As most of you know, meditation can be a bit of a pain, especially if you're like still have the monkey mind going on, okay? But you want to start to practice regular meditation so that you can get into the meditative state like that. You want to be able to take about 5 to 7 minutes or so. It doesn't even have to be that long. Once you do your meditation, then you want to establish your grounding cord. Establishing your grounding cord is going to help you to be able to release energy from just any thoughts that you may be having, any stuck energy that's in your aura and things like that. You want to also pay attention to your aura. So is your aura around you, or is it way out there? One technique that I utilize is visualizing or thinking about being in the center of a hula hoop. So your aura, that it should be about that big. I mean, not like the huge hula hoops, but you want it to be fairly around you. And why I say this is because you're going to actually be taking it into your own grounding cord. Okay, so once you are aware of where your aura is at, if it is way out there, then call it back. A lot of times we push our aura out to create a barrier, especially if we're being threatened or something like that. We kind of push our aura out as a protective barrier, but it actually will work in the reverse. It actually catches things that we don't want and things like that. Once you've established, where your aura is located, then you're going to want to create your grounding cord. Now, this is a technique that isn't really talked about much. There's different variations, but it's not really like, oh, this is where, this is how you do it and things like that. So I'll briefly go over it. So creating your grounding cord, and guys, like a lot of this is visualization practices that you'll want to start to do. So when I was learning this technique, the teacher was like, imagine it as anything. It can be anything in the world. It can be a straw. It can be a Twizzlers. It could be a tree trunk. It could be a ice cream cone. It can be a lollipop. Like, it could be anything, just as long as you're visualizing it and you have it connected to your root chakra, okay? Because that's going to be the exit point that energy is going to flow out of you, essentially. So, or not flow out, but that it gets released down that way, okay? And so when I was first learning this, I did the straw method or visualization the most, because it was like, it just helped me to visualize releasing, like seeing that pipe. And then it changed to like a chain, like it would bounce around depending on kind of like what I was working on releasing. And so say you're visualizing, my common ground that I visualize is actually the stump of a tree, because it actually has roots that are going down, and it helps me to kind of visualize, me sitting on the tree trunk, or the tree trunk, but the tree stump, and then my root chakra just being connected to that and allowing release to happen. So pick something, pick anything, guys. Like, don't overthink it, because when you overthink it, then it makes it hard to release. Okay, so visualize that, and once you have that established, then you want to connect it to your root chakra. Now, if you connect it and you're like, okay, nothing's happening, I don't really feel anything releasing, you want to then take a moment and visualize you have a bucket of gold, of liquid gold. Okay, pour that liquid gold all over your root chakra. Pour it all down the grounding cord, or whatever grounding cord that you've decided to visualize. A thought came to me. It was interesting because one of my classmates, she actually had a dragon tail as her root chakra. As her grounding cord. Like, guys, be imaginative. Use your imagination. Like, this is where it helps you to release. Amusement and happiness actually help you to release. Okay, so it can be silly as fuck. Like, just imagine it. Okay, so pour it on your root chakra, pour it down the grounding cord, to help flush out anything that's stuck or that has got stagnant in your grounding cord or even in your root chakra. Then we're going to reconnect it. Okay, and then allow yourself to release. I like to actually visualize a button in front of me, and with my spiritual hand, I press the release button, and then just let it all flow out. Just let it flow out. The longer you do it, the more repetitive you do it is what I'm trying to say. So the more you do it, like, daily, then it's easier for you to release when you sit down to start to meditate. Your body already knows, and your spirit already knows, and so it'll start to release on its own. Our bodies are used to doing this stuff, but we don't ever give it the time and space to do it. Okay, we tend to hold on to things and not want to let go. And so once you start letting your body know, like, hey, you can release that thought, you can release that attitude you got from the clerk or from that asshole who cut you off, like, you can release that stuff, okay, and not let it simmer and develop in your space. Because if you hang on to something like that, then it actually becomes something that you are responsible for, and it'll get stuck in a chakra. Okay, so once you have established your grounding cord, you want to work on your breath. Breath work is so important. Okay, I actually have a class that I do early mornings. It's a Breathwork class, and if anybody is interested, it is virtual, it's online, so I'll leave a link below, and I'll make sure to label it as the Breathwork class, because breathwork is definitely number one in helping your energy to flow. Not only the Reiki energy, but your energy, because you want to actually get your energy cycling before you invite Reiki in. Why? Because then Reiki knows that you're relaxed. When you are not relaxed, Reiki will not flow effectively. Okay, I don't want to say it won't flow at all. It'll actually be working on you and not the client, and then the client's gonna have doubts about Reiki because they're not feeling anything. They didn't experience the value of it. Okay, so you want to make sure that you're doing these practices, because if you are being lazy, it's easy, guys. It really is easy, especially if you're starting out and you don't really have clients, or like your family is kind of like, she's doing that weird stuff again, like not really supporting you in what you're doing. Then it's easy to fall into not doing your meditations, not doing your breath work, and not practicing and calling in Reiki and doing Reiki on yourself. I actually will do a video on doing self Reiki, but this one is just for a client session. Okay, so next we actually want to start running our own energy. So what that means is running earth energy and cosmic energy. When I meditate and I'm doing the running energy meditation, I like to actually sit down in a chair. I don't really like to sit down cross-legged on the floor because technically you're crossing your energies in your legs, okay? So sitting in a chair with your spine erect, with your feet flat on the floor and your palms up. An important thing about having your palms up during meditation or just any type of like silent time with yourself is that it helps you to breathe better. You're able to take deeper breaths. When you can practice this too, like you can take like sit with your hands like this with your palms down, and then try and take a deep breath, and then do the same thing with your palms up, and see if you notice a difference. Okay, that's just kind of an awareness technique there. But you want to start running your earth and cosmic energy, like I said. So you want to start actually with the earth energy. Me personally, I actually communicate with Mama Earth and just ask her if there's a specific energy or healing color that she would like to provide for the healing session today or that day, whatever, whatever time and day I'm doing it. And then you should feel like a little tickle or a little tingle on the bottom of your feet. If you don't, then your foot chakra might be kind of constricted. So you want to think about opening it. So think about opening and closing, opening and closing, opening and closing your foot chakra. And you should start to feel it kind of like exercising. If you're not used to working with your chakras that on that level where you're opening and closing them, then you may want to just practice that. Also, like a lot of the stuff that I'm introducing, it does take at least every other day. Okay, like I know people get busy and stuff like that, but you want to at least do it every other day so that your body starts to get used to utilizing that. So once you have your chakras open to a good size, you should feel it actually, the earth energy start to actually rise up into your feet. You want to invite it in and let it come up your ankle, your calf, your knees, your thighs, to your hips, and then out of the root chakra. So it should be a nice circular motion going on. You should kind of feel a flow happening. Okay, once you've gotten that flowing, then at this point we call out to the universe. If I'm doing just my regular running my energy meditation, then I'll just pick a color that I want to utilize that day. If I'm doing it for a Reiki session, I actually go ahead at that point and call Reiki in or turn Reiki on. However you decide to turn it on, then that's what I actually would have come in through my crown chakra. So as it's coming in, it's going to go in down the back of your head to the back side of your chakras and start spinning them from that side. And then you want it to go out of the root chakra. Okay, so essentially both energies are meeting at the root chakra. Now you want to take 90% of the cosmic energy and 10% of the earth energy and combine them at the root chakra and send that mixture up the front side of your chakras. Now, you can actually play around with the percentages. I would say the more earth energy that you decide to pull in, it will be a little bit harder. So that one you would have to practice with because it's thicker. It's a thicker energy that's actually coming from the earth. That's why it's 90-10. So because cosmic energy is really light and more etheric. And so you want to make sure that it's a good mixture. I would say, I've tried 80-20 also. 80-20 is pretty good. But after a little bit of practicing with it, it does help to actually go out to the park and put your feet in grass, unless you have a yard. But for those of us that stay like in an apartment complex or in an area that's more has a lot more concrete around it, then I usually like to go to a park and run my energy there. Okay, so now that we have that nice mixture in the root chakra, we want to send it up the front side of the chakras. So you want to send it to each chakra, the root, sacral, solar plexus, heart. Once it gets to the throat, you actually want to branch some of it off, not all of it, but some of it off to come down your creative channels and out through your hands. Okay, so you want to have it coming out and then the rest of it going up, to the throat, third eye, and then crown. Then you actually want it to come out of the front side of the crown chakra and into your aura. So with it coming out, that mixture is actually going to come and fill in any areas in your aura that might have holes or that needs patching and things like that, and just to make it very secure. So once that happens, then, I don't believe I mentioned this. So when you have your aura around you, like I was explaining before, you want to make sure that it's tucked into your grounding cord. So make sure that your grounding cord